and welcome to Pattern and Craft. Today's is just a short video on the straight edges technique. So I'm working on this pattern right now, and I thought it would be a good opportunity to explain straight edges to you because these ones are already built into the pattern. You can see that I've added an extra string on either side in pink, which never shows up in the pattern because it's only being knotted onto and never being knotted with. And every knot that is knotted onto that string is either a backward forward knot or a forward backward knot. This is how you do the straight edges technique. Almost all my patterns include this already built in, and you can see them on Bracelet Book. So I'm working on this pattern right now, and I'm creating the bracelet, and you can see those pink strings on the edges and my pattern strings in the center. And you can also add the strings to any pattern really if it doesn't have the straight edges already built in. You basically just add one extra string on either side. And then when you're knotting your pattern, you always do a backward forward knot onto the left string and then continue on with your pattern as normal. And then for the right side, that string, you always do a forward backward knot onto it. So you never see the straight edge, the extra string in your pattern. It's just an extra string on the side that you knot onto, and it gives a nicer edge, and it kind of helps keep the bracelet a little bit straighter and keeps it from warping, although it does have some limitations. I'll explain those in the next few clips because it's a little tricky, but I do feel like it's a really nice way to make bracelets, and I use it in pretty much every bracelet I make. So here I want to show you basically the difference. So one bracelet has the straight edges and the other does not. This one does not. So you can see it's a little bit more of a bumpier edge instead of that clean edge. It's hard to tell with this pattern because it's still such an even pattern, but if it has a lot of different knots, then it can have kind of a wobbly edge. And you can see here it's kind of curling up a bit, and it does that when I'm wearing it. It kind of, the edge is a little bit more loose. It's not as tight. And then you can see with the one that does have the straight edge technique used, it doesn't curl as much. It's just a nicer looking edge to me, in my opinion. You can see all the knots are the same knot, and they kind of have this cool little edge on it. Just the way that they all line up like that. And I think it looks really nice. So you can see that's the difference between them. So one's a little bit more rough and bumpy, and the other one's a nice finished edge. In my opinion, I think it's a little nicer. It's not necessary. It's just a little bit cleaner looking, and it kind of keeps that edge tight so your bracelet doesn't curl. It also prevents, well, it helps your bracelet stay very straight as far as like top to bottom. It doesn't curve to the side or wobble around. You can see I can't even force it to kind of turn and curve. So it prevents that. But in this case, it didn't help because I did use the straight edge technique, but because all the knots go one direction and then switch directions and go the other, it kind of makes a little zigzag effect. So if your pattern has a lot of all one direction and then switching all to the other direction knots, you are still going to get kind of a wavy effect like you can see here. And then also sometimes in diamond style bracelets, you can see here the edges poke out just a little bit, and that's the same kind of thing. That's the same reason as it does in the zigzag bracelet. The knots are all going one way and then the other. So the straight edges technique maybe helps a little bit with that, but it doesn't totally prevent it if the knot structure is that way. So it will help you get a nice clean edge. It will help you keep your bracelets more straight top to bottom and keep from curving to the side one way or the other, but it won't prevent that kind of zigzag thing if that's just the structure of your bracelet. I hope this helped, and I hope you enjoyed it. By the way, here's that bracelet that I was working on at the beginning of the video. It's all done now. And I actually used the pink straight edge strings for a design element and used a single color triangle end. I have another video on that technique, so I'll leave that in the description. Thanks so much for watching.